Wow. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Research Foundation for SUNY Symposium. I think we are all just amazed at how many people we have in this room. We were talking earlier, and in all the years many of us have worked here, we have never gotten this large group together before to talk about issues we see at our campuses. So thank you for attending, and I think over the course of, yes, give yourself a round, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, you know, the whole idea for the symposium really was to get together, and it's about some presentations, but it's really about sharing experiences, sharing your knowledge with everybody in the room. So I think just by attending here, we have all just expanded our resource pool by everyone in this room. They're your colleagues. Please get a chance to know them. They're people that you can call on. After 3 o'clock tomorrow, when this symposium is over, you now have a brand new network of expertise at your disposal. So we encourage you to get involved in the conversations in each of the sessions. They're meant to be interactive. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your experiences. We want to hear your bad, good, pretty good practices, anything that you're willing to share that we can all benefit from. So we really do encourage your involvement here over the course of the next couple days. My name is Lisa Gilroy. I am co-chairing this with my colleague Donna Scudo from Buffalo State. I'm from Binghamton University. Thank you. And I don't need to tell everyone what a huge effort this was to put this symposium on. So I wanted to acknowledge, or we would like to acknowledge, the planning committee. So I'm going to ask the planning committee to stand up, if you could, please. And you can see how many people it took. So thank you all very, very much. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention one additional person. I think, as we've mentioned, the planning for this symposium actually started about 2 years ago. And when it started, we had a very good friend and colleague of ours, Ann Conley, who was instrumental in developing this program. So I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge her and thank her for all of the time and dedication she had to all of us at the campuses. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Donna for a couple of additional bullets.
So this event was made possible by a lot of very, very wonderful sponsors who we all interact with daily as we do our jobs and as we go through the things that we do. So I would like to offer a huge thank you to all of those sponsors. Please stop by and visit their tables. Tiaa-Cref is one of our lead sponsors. They have done a great job, and here to introduce our executive, he has a long title here. Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor and Interim RF President is Edward Van Delson from Tiaa-Cref. He's the President of Retirement and Individual Financial Services in the Office of the CEO at Tiaa-Cref. Mr. Van Delson has more than 30 years experience, so you know your money's in good hands, in the financial services industry. In his current role, he provides operational leadership and guidance to Tiaa-Cref's institutional and individual businesses, as well as the individual advisory services, education, savings, banking, and client services. Mr. Van Delson holds a BA in Government Studies from Franklin and Marshall College and an MBA in Marketing from Pace University. He serves Franklin and Marshall College as a member of its advisory council and is a member of the LOMRA Secure Retirement Institute. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Van Delson.
I'll just start with what a pleasure it is for me to be here and represent Tiaa-Cref at your first conference. We're in good company whenever we're with our clients, and we're really excited to be here. I've been with Tiaa-Cref for 32 years, and as I've said, I've been privileged for every year that we've been here. My title should tell you really one thing. If anything has gone wrong with anything you know about Tiaa-Cref, it's probably my fault. So afterwards, if you have any comments or suggestions, just let me know. In many ways, RF SUNY and Tiaa-Cref are alike. Right? I think we share some core values. First of all, that we're trying to make people's lives better. and we're trying to improve outcomes for people. Now, we do it in different ways. Obviously, SUNY's core mission is to prepare students for the future. RF SUNY's is really to enable research that will make the world better and have life-changing events. And at Tiaa-Cref, we're here to deal with financial security and making sure people's financial lives are better. Now, innovation requires an open mind to get things done. Tiaa-Cref, I don't know how many of you know the Tiaa-Cref story, but I'll tell you a real quick version. Andrew Carnegie, our founder, was a very innovative person. But not a lot of people know that the idea for Tiaa-Cref started not far from here. When Andrew Carnegie was a trustee, he was a named trustee for Cornell. He went up there, and what he found when he was a trustee is there were no retirement plans. This is back in the early 1900s. There was no Social Security, and that many of the faculty members made less than Andrew Carnegie's clerks. So no retirement, not high paid, no Social Security. What he found was they really literally had to work until they passed away. He found that appalling, so what he decided to do was he gave $10 million to fund retirement. Now, $10 million was a lot back in the early 1900s, but it wasn't enough to fund the retirement of every college and university professor in the country, because they were all in a similar boat. So what he did was he started with $1 million to the Carnegie Corporation. He started Tiaa-Cref back in 1918, and we've been going strong ever since. To date, we've paid over $400 billion of retirement income to people in higher education throughout the country. So I think it's been relatively successful. So we were talking about Andrew Carnegie, creative innovator. We have another creative innovator right here in Dr. Cartwright. As most of you know, well, he is SUNY's provost and executive vice president and interim president of RF SUNY. As chief academic officer, he supports the chancellor and the board of trustees in their oversight responsibilities over the 64 campus system. He also oversees Research Foundation's management of more than $1 billion in annual sponsorship research activity. Most recently, he served as University of Buffalo's vice president for research and economic development and acting director of the NYS Center of Excellence in Bioinformatics and Life Science. I was not good at science, so if I mess up some of these, you'll have to understand. And he continues to serve as a faculty member there. An internationally recognized researcher and scholar in the area of optical sensors. His one-step, low-cost holographic technology for fabricating a rainbow-colored polymer was one of 5 inventions worldwide named to the Society of Manufacturing Engineers 2013 list of innovations that could change the way you manufacture. Earning his PhD from the University of Iowa, Dr. Cartwright has produced more than 150 peer-reviewed journal entries, or journal publications, and conference proceedings, and received numerous federal research grants. He holds 6 patents, and his work has been licensed by 3 startup companies. He's got many designations. I won't go into them all, or I would eat into his time, and we couldn't finish. But one thing that is new is he was just inducted last week into the National Academy of Inventors as a fellow, which is the best of the best in the world of inventing. So we should, in addition to welcoming him, we should congratulate him for that accomplishment.
Very good. Thank you so much. You did a great job with the science words. Got holographic right. First, let me actually begin by apologizing that Chancellor Zimpher couldn't actually be here. She has a conflict that she just couldn't avoid, but she asked if I'd be willing to do it, and I, of course, said yes, I would. I'm certainly pleased to see such a large group, people all around the place. It looks like there's some empty chairs if people want to try to find them, but it's hard to get a place in here. Kathleen, I'm not sure what you're covering in this workshop. Actually, I did look at it. But clearly you have a lot of people who are interested in it. She actually told me a number of the groups that are here, you know, HR people, OMs, deputy OMs, accounts payable, finance and administration, compliance, and certainly there's a lot of people there that I see from RF Central office. So it's a good grouping of people, and you represent truly the people who drive the research in SUNY, right? You have to have the people who are coming up with good ideas, the innovators, but certainly you need people who are helping with all of the things that are needed to actually conduct research on a day-to-day basis, and that's your job. I'm well aware of that. As was mentioned, I was actually VP for Research and Economic Development at Buffalo, and so I understand what you do for the most part. I'm looking for the clicker if you're wondering why I'm looking around. Today I'll actually talk about a few things. One is that I am actually serving as both the provost and the interim president. I'm really going to talk a little bit about SUNY's research and economic development goals. I'm going to try to put it in context. So I think it's important when people are working on something that they understand what their job is contributing to and how it's driving forward the mission of the institution. I think if you know why you're doing something, you actually have a little more pride in doing it and you work harder at it. So that's what we'll try to do through our research and economic development goals. And I'll actually, at the end, mention some of the things around your impact. I've said a little bit, but I'll say more. There was a long introduction of who I am earlier, and I'll just highlight a couple other things. One is I've been at the University of Buffalo for almost 20 years now. So I started as an assistant professor, and I felt, all the pains of growing up and trying to understand how you conduct research, how you mentor students, how do you monitor your grants, how do you write a good proposal. And I still remember some of those people, and so you can know that there are people you remember no matter what. I remember when I first went to our sponsored projects office, Ann Salter was there. I don't know if any of you worked with her. She's now retired. But she was good enough to actually recognize this person who came in, new faculty member who didn't know what in the world he was doing, and she actually walked me through the process. Back then we had to make copies of everything and send in multiple copies of the proposal, and I didn't even know which agencies I should be applying to. So someone was there to help me. And I think that's, what you remember is who helped you and how they helped you get where you want to be. And then continuing to do that as a VP for research, when I did that, I really wanted to understand what is it that we were providing to the faculty. What's the value that we add? And I think that's the view that I feel about also going into SUNY in general. And when I came here, you heard it's a 64 campus system, 460,000 students. And in fact, some people have seen this first 7 months, it did feel a little bit like the silent movies, that there was a lot of action and I didn't know what was going on. And every so often I feel like something was there. And one of those things that you see that's there is that we have a lot of activity in SUNY, and the system, the SUNY system, actually has a very unique role, different from what you do on a campus. And many of you are campus people, and so it's important that you see also what the system does. And the system actually has to look at all of the activities. We report to the Board of Trustees, who has overarching authority for everything in SUNY, and we are the interface through the campuses to that board. On the RF side, we have a similar structure where we have a RF board of directors, and we work with them about what the research foundation should be focused on and where that's headed. We meet with all of the presidents of all 64 campuses, and understanding that everybody has a slightly different view. And you go into many meetings, you learn this as a VP for research for sure, is that you go in numerous meetings where it is clear that there are a lot of very smart people in the room, and your job is to listen and to understand what they're doing. And it's similar here, is that you work with all of our presidents. They're all very successful, and they have their vision of where their institution should be, and our job is to listen how that fits in with the bigger picture, overarching picture for SUNY. We also work with our chief academic officers. We work with the University Faculty Senate. And We continue to do a lot better job here in terms of RF, of thinking about what is it that the Research Foundation does, right? In taking over as interim Vice President for Research, one of the things that I started to recognize is that RF itself has some role, identity, that it contributes to the SUNY research, right? On our campuses, of course, it is about our campus, and rightfully so. It is about what the faculty, what the students, what the staff are doing on those campuses. But you have an interesting model in the SUNY system where the Research Foundation provides overarching support for everything that's going on in research. And that is a unique opportunity for how we can actually collaborate across institutions, that our systems are the same, and we actually can take that and use that as an advantage. I don't think we do enough of that yet. We're trying to do that, and I think we'll do more of it in the future. I think if one of the things I'm going to also is just looking at the university centers, research foundations, and I'm going to be looking at those in the next month or so, and thinking about how all of this fits in with all the other things that are going on at SUNY. At SUNY, I spend a lot of time on many other things. SUNY Excels. SUNY Excels, within SUNY Excels, you'll see that there are opportunities for you to work on research. Inquiry is one of those topics. We have many other things: seamless transfer, Open SUNY, networks of excellence, which you're involved in, Teach New York. Can't even see what that one is. Oh, the sexual assault prevention task force, which we had moving forward with our campuses. All of these are things that we're working on, and there's even more in the central office, okay? And I know within your picture, you see what you're doing as far as contributing to research on the campuses, and we see all the things that we're doing contributing globally to what's going on in SUNY. Sorry, my phone was deciding to vibrate. And I think one of those things that you'll recognize here is the role that we play globally in the state, and that is educating people and educating them better, how we think about innovation, how we move forward. We want to invest in SUNY, we want to invest in our people. How we do that is important, and that drives into our research and economic development goals. So I'll spend a little bit of time, because I would like to take questions from you. I'll spend a little bit of time on some of those goals around research, and then I'll get to some questions. So if you look at this, and these are so broad that they don't say anything in particular, right? What are our goals? Life-saving discoveries. This is about our scholarship. It's the things that we do. It's looking at the greatest social challenges. We have so much diversity across our campuses that we are looking at different problems, right, across the whole system. And at the upper level, it's very difficult then for us to say we're focusing on one area or another. We can give broad areas. We're interested in solving economic development issues, contributing to workforce development. Our creative and artistic contributions, you'll notice that one of the things that happens is that we're interested in how we contribute to society in general, right? We can talk about innovation, we can talk about technology, but really a lot of what we do too is in our culturals, it's in our arts, it's in our humanities, and we need to value that. We need to understand the contribution that that plays in the role of an entire economy. And of course, through research, there are numerous opportunities for students, both at the undergraduate and the graduate level. If you look at our statistics, you know, they're fairly good. We're a healthy organization. Our research expenditures have been in the top 10 of public university systems, and our growth has been significant during that period of time. We are a relatively young system. We're a global combined system, so we can all contribute in one way or another. And I think we have opportunity to even expand on that. We have been doing well, but I think we can do much better. One of the ways that we can do much better is shown here. We have a lot more activity going on in the Innovation Showcase. Empire State Development actually sponsored this, was a co-sponsor with us, and looking at our technologies, how we can move them out, how can that impact our state, what's the investment that we need, how do we get people to invest more in SUNY innovation, is an interesting topic for us. We also recognize that across the country and across the world, research expenditures on pure and basic research continues to be at least under pressure and decreasing, because it's important that we recognize and explain the value that we add. And so one way you can explain that value is, looking at some of the things that industry is interested in. So we're looking at academic industry roundtables. How do we find out what are the big problems industry is facing? How can we contribute? How do we get the right people together? How do we get the conversation started? And that is actually has been kicked off. And I think it will actually help to grow the activity that's happening within SUNY and how that is connected to our research outside the translation. If we look at our patents and inventions policy, you'll start seeing a lot of this. Some of you will see quite a bit of this over the next year to 2 years. We have a lot of activity. We're reviewing that. I just want to put this as a highlight in realizing that we are thinking about patents and inventions policy and how we can broaden that to benefit everybody involved, our faculty, our institutions, and industry, so that we can really facilitate industrial partnerships in a way that's meaningful. I think it's about time that we rethink those and what's our strategies there. One of the other things that we are doing, and I think you've heard about this, is the Chancellor has been doing a lot of activity around the investment fund. And one of the things that we've been thinking about is the venture fund that the governor announced, and there's money that has been put aside for that. I think we don't know, I haven't heard the latest on the budget, but one of the things that we're asking is really that we'd like to have 10 million of that sort of targeted towards investment in SUNY activities. And I think that would be important. I think you'll get a tremendous return on investment through SUNY if we get that investment. This is what a lot of other institutions have actually done, right? Cincinnati did it. There has been many other institutions where you see this connection to industry and how you can translate technologies. In addition, we know that we have lots of incubators around that have companies that could benefit from this, and we want to make sure that we're a player in that game. The last thing that I'd like to talk about that we're actually, one of the things that we're investing in is simply your topic is collaborating for success, right? And when I think about that, the way that I would say that is that research is a team effort, right? There are roles that everybody plays, and if we're working together as a team, we can get a lot more done than if we're just trying to do it on our own. I certainly didn't try to figure out all the rules when I was a faculty member or when I was a vice president for research. I had people who can do a lot of that for me and help me out. So I wanted to tell you that it's about the diversity of our people too. It's about how do we get new ideas into the system, the research enterprise, how do we adapt. It is truly about the innovators, the administrators, safety officers, compliance officers all being on the same page. We must encourage that creativity, innovation, and creativity by certainly embracing our own role and knowing what it is and knowing that everything, each day when we do something, it actually contributes to the success of the institution. That's important for you to remember. The last thing that I will highlight here is I've been talking a lot about investing in SUNY, and one of the things that is a recommendation that I made to the Chancellor, Zimfer, is to let us begin with a search for a Vice Chancellor for Research and Economic Development, which we are about to undertake. And that person is, the goal will be that that person is focused on our research excellence, our research growth, and our return on investment in research in terms of people, in terms of the areas, and in terms of if I look at it just financially, just dollars. It is certainly intimately connected with the Research Foundation, and the Research Foundation supports those activities, but it really is an expanded role that includes graduate education, that also includes understanding and valuing the scholarly activities, arts, humanities, and other areas too, and thinking about how we bring all of that together to bear on the state and how we make the state a much better place. So I went through that very quickly because really what I'd like to do much more is think about any questions that you might have. As I tell everybody, I'm willing to take any question. I don't guarantee that I will give an answer, but I'll try. And there's a lot of people in here who can answer for me. Yes?
You mentioned earlier that you were going to be spending some time looking at some of the centers. Can you describe what you said you were going to spend the next month or so kind of digging into the RF centers?
No, the RF itself, the central activities. Central activities, and what we're doing, how we're working with the interface, how we interface with other campuses. That's what I meant. Sorry. If I said centers, I didn't mean centers. Yes?
Oh, okay. Hi. How does SUNY Central, I'm fairly new in the system,
Yep.
how does it sort of, enforce is too strong a word, how does it manage the campuses to fulfill the goals of the system, and what's the mechanism for that?
That's a really complicated question. Hard to answer. Because it is complicated, and I don't mean it as a bad thing. Remember, the authority in SUNY is given to the Board of Trustees, right? And the Board of Trustees actually have authority over all academic activities within SUNY, and so it is really through the driving force of our board and working with our board. We have SUNY system, and then we have 64 campuses, right? And you have to bring people along, and I think what it is that whenever you have a system that is more almost like a federated model, right, where you have independence at each local region, it is about creating value at the system and having people understand that it's the right thing to be doing. So a lot of what we do is talk about what's the right thing to be doing. What's the right thing to be doing for our students, right? What's the right thing to be doing for our faculty? That's really what it's about. And it's hard to bring that, you say that we can, and actually at some level I don't think it's the right thing to be doing. We shouldn't be telling people everything that they should be doing. We have independent campuses who actually should know within their local region what's the best things for them to be focused on. Our job is to facilitate what they can be best at and to help them to become better. It's the same way I saw, by the way, our VPR's job. I told everybody that my job as VPR, if I was doing my job appropriately, no one knew I was there, because it meant that everything was running smoothly. And that's really what it's about, is how do you facilitate things moving forward. Yeah, and actually for us it's through SUNY Excels. We actually have a program that's a performance program, SUNY Excels, that's going to measure a lot of different things. And you will be able to compare, each campus will be able to compare itself to previous years. And it's about how do you continuously improve. So that's how we're going to try to get people. We're about improvement. We know what our job is. It's about access, completion, success, inquiry, and engagement. How do we do all of those better? And the way we do it better as a system is everybody does it better as an individual campus. Great questions. A tough question. Any other harder questions? You can ask me some compliance issue about OMB circular and the changes, and you can ask me some compliance issues. I saw a lot of those questions before. Good. Thank you so much, okay? Take care. All right.